Hello, Kindred Spirits. Welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we're going to be looking into a 2-week ahead forecast for you, going week by week to see what main energies are on their way in. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back, my beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here on the channel today. And if you are new, I have an entire master guide video on charm casting, as we're going to be using that quite heavily for your 2-week ahead readings here that you can check out, or you can subscribe if you haven't already to see more of those educational videos. But today we are going to be looking into the next 2 weeks for you, doing an energy forecast, playing around with the charms and with the Citadel Oracle. So if you're excited for that, do be sure to give this video a like. But also, if you would like to support this space, you can check out the ways in which you can not only support this space, but also yourself through the snail mail readings that I do, but also through the Maybon spell and ritual papers that I have out as a limited run right now. So do feel free to check those out if you're interested in those for your Maybon spell and rituals and workings around this time when it comes to your own spiritual practice. So feel free to check those out down below. They're eco-friendly and handmade and hand curated by me just for you. And there's lots of helpful reviews down below if that's something you're interested in. But let's go ahead and look at these piles. So for each of the piles that we have here, I have a different colored stone. So here for pile number 1, we have this green stone. I'm not actually sure what this stone is called, so if anyone knows, do let me know. But it has these little white speckles and sort of an ombre on its way up in green. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have this piece of yellow aventurine, and it's got these really interesting little separations and inclusions here, as well as it kind of looks like a little sand dune. So that is pile number 2. And then last but not least here for pile number 3, we have this piece of red jasper with all of these interesting marbled colors intermixed with both black, reds, and grays. So that is pile number 3. So before you start heading off to the timestamps, I like to invite you to take a deep and cleansing breath here with me to really ground and center your intuition and see which piles are really calling out to you. So let's go ahead and take that deep cleansing breath here together now. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose all 3 of the piles if you so wish, or you can change and flip-flop between them and take different pieces as they feel they resonate for you. So do feel free to check all the timestamps down below for that, as well as with the chapter marks of this video. And if you're interested in connecting deeper with the community here beyond this channel, you can check out my Instagram down below, as that's not only where I place my offerings, but also the behind the scenes and the different little intricate art magic things that I get up to. So do feel free to check that all out down below. But we're going to go ahead and get started here with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose this green crystal, then this is the pile for you. I'm gonna let you guys know right off the bat that I have a pretty big thunderstorm happening outside right now, so you might get a little bit of a thunder ambiance here and there, but who knows, maybe when I'm editing this I'll realize I've talked over most of them, so we will see. But today we're going to be looking into your next 2 weeks ahead. We're going to be doing a 2-week forecast here with an energy forecast, looking into the next 2 weeks with the charms, as well as the other decks and supplies, which I'll have all listed down below. But today we're mainly going to be doing a focus using the deck here of the Citadel Oracle, which you guys know I have been really loving. I just did, I think 2 weeks ago, a reading all based on these, so clearly you're going to see it on the channel a few times right now as I enjoy it. But let's start off with your charms. So I'm going to zoom you in here, and let's first pull, actually sorry, not your charms, your letter tiles. And we're going to pull you some letter tiles to see any names, dates, initials, or places that are really going to be important for you for the next 2 weeks. So feel free to get yourself settled and send your energy in so we can really look into these. So let's see what you have coming in for the letter tiles here, group 1. Okay. Looks like we are starting out with a few letters already coming up first. So we have I, U, and B alongside S, R, O, and A. So we have a lot of vowels. We don't have a lot of consonants to really work with, which I always like to see as sort of a message to showcase that sometimes it might be a more emotional week. One of those kinds of weeks where it's a lot harder to kind of get your words out, or you fumble over your words a lot more often, or you find that things that you want to communicate just end up having a little bit more of a hurdle, or things that just you get a frog stuck in your throat kind of feeling. So it's something to just keep in mind when it comes to communication this week, which I feel like the letter tiles are really good at doing. Surprisingly, the only letter for vowels that you're missing here in the A-E-I-O-U for English is the letter E, which is the most common letter in the alphabet. So I find it interesting too. So you might have that it's a more unique week where the emotions that you're feeling are less common. There's something that you're maybe not usually having to kind of come up against. The only other word that I'm really actually able to really create here that I'm noticing is the word bus. So you may find that you're more busy, or you might be taking the bus more often, or something that's going to show up for you this week is about like public transportation, even maybe roads of some sort. So keep in mind that this can mean like public transportation, or it can just represent that like you are taking a road less traveled, taking a road, like I said, that's less common, even whether that's like physically taking a different road or a different route, or if it's like you having to navigate a situation from a different point of view. But there's a bit of a crossroads here, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to your letter tiles, which are going to be very similar to the number tiles, but this time with the letter tiles, but the number tiles are actually going to showcase more dates or angel numbers, repeating numbers, and things like that might be more significant to you, even maybe with your spirit guides. So let's go ahead and pull those for you here. Okay. So, looks like you got the letters 9, 4, and 4 showing up here. The colors might be significant to you too, so feel free to see. So you have 9, 4, 4, 3, and 5. So it could be things that are happening more earlier on in the week that are going to be related to this, since we have a lot of lower numbers. You also have 4 and 3 showing up together in the same color, and then you have 2 repeating 4s. And so whenever I see the number 4, it represents something that can be kind of stagnant, stuck in the road. Maybe you're feeling like in flight. What is it called? Fight, flight, or freeze. You might find that you're falling in the freeze response more often over the next 2 weeks. It also represents being a bit more stubborn, or kind of holding back in some way, hoarding your skills and your energy, or it can also represent just needing to safeguard or protect. So it could go lots of different ways, but I'm going to go ahead and leave you with those to think about as we go ahead and pull you your main energy card for the next 2 weeks. So this is going to be showcasing a specific archetype that you're really working with this week, or an archetype that's going to be coming up a lot over the next 2 weeks for you. So do feel free to send your energy, especially with this one, as it's going to be very pinpointed and specific. So let's see that main theme, that main energy coming in for you, that archetype that's really showing up for you over these next 2 weeks. Group 1. Ooh, okay. This one is showing up. So we have the Musician. Interesting. I think this one came up recently in that last 2 weeks, or 2 weeks ago. I think I did a video on archetypes, and I do believe this one came up, or at least it's come up recently for something that I've been doing on this channel, and it says the Musician. So we have inspiration and gratitude. So this one is all about kind of following your inner muse, with musician kind of coming from that root word of muse. So the things that really inspire you or bring aspirations to life for you, aspirations being inspiration that you're kind of hoarding or taking in, and using that inspiration for action. So it's kind of like that idea of sometimes we can be inspired. I personally come across this where I'll be inspired and I'm like constantly moving through Pinterest, or I find inspiration in quotes or things like that, and I hoard them and I hold them and I get excited by them, but I don't actually take action on the inspiration. I don't actually use it to put action towards those inspirations. So there could be something happening like that with you for this week, where you find that you're kind of taking in a lot of inspiration but not actually using it to create constructive change in your life or constructive actions in your life motivated by that inspiration or by those muses. So I do see that showing up. There can also be that this next 2 weeks is just going to really flow. You're going to feel a lot of flow. You also have with those fours, right? It represents stability and kind of rock solidness. And you have this anchor showing up here too. So there is this feeling too of kind of like anchoring yourself in your muse or anchoring yourself in those aspirations, the inspiration and action taken there. So yeah, we're going to play around with that, but let's go ahead and move to your charms and see how those influence the rest of your next 2 weeks. So if you all are maybe possibly new to these charm readings for these 2 week ahead readings, I like to divvy up my little mat here to showcase that next 2 weeks in more detail. So here, if anything falls here, this is more on that main theme with the archetype that you got here of the musician. But if you also get anything on these sides, this little noodle shape represents the first week, as this little noodle shape represents the second week. And then any charms that fall outside of that we'll talk about individually. But we're going to get started here first with the tarot tiles. So these are actually tarot cards and little tarot charms. So do feel free to send your energy into the dark abyss here and see what comes back. Group 1, next 2 weeks. Okay, so I'm going to see if this one wants to show up elsewhere, which it did, so I went ahead and threw it again, falling in the second week. So first off, we're going to come back to these in a second. We'll do the charms, but you do have here in the center the Queen of Swords, you have the King of Wands, and you have the Hierophant showing up here. But we're going to open this one or reveal this one here in a moment. So let's go ahead and pull you some charms to get more of those details. So do feel free to send your energy in. Let's see the details of your next 2 weeks. Ooh, lots of little ones. Okay, let's go ahead and see what has been revealed with these. So I'm going to zoom you in. We'll start right here in the center first. So like I said, you kind of only had one thing falling in this ring to go along with the musician here of inspiration and gratitude. So what you have showing up here to kind of align with that is the Queen of Swords, which is a very direct kind of person. They're very direct with their communication. They are very direct with their ideas, and they don't have a lot of wiggle room. So I do feel like when your mindset these next 2 weeks is kind of taking away the idea of kind of needing to be so like, here's the facts, here's the things, this is how it goes, and nothing will ever change, this is, and finding some sort of fluid motion in there, almost kind of, like I said, I feel like there's that rock solidness that we got with the fours, and then we got here with the anchor. So I almost feel like you're like protecting your ideas, protecting yourself from the inspiration, protecting yourself from following this like very free-flowing feeling, right? We have the moon, we have these waves. It feels very much in a sense of flow. Like if you guys have ever gotten into the flow state when you're creating, that's what it feels like. And you have these two archetypes kind of battling each other. One that really wants to flow and move and change, and another one that's kind of wanting to hold back or stick to tradition or stick to a plan that's already been set out. So you might have to find some sort of middle ground between these two. over the next 2 weeks, but let's go ahead and look at your first week here in a little bit more detail. So these are the charms that we have showing up here for your first week. So let's go ahead and reveal the card. Okay, so you have the Ace of Cups showing up here. The Ace of Cups all about emotion, about flow. It definitely is a flow state, and it's an opportunity to move into that flow state. As you can see, there's this cup overflowing with emotion, inspiration, excitement, and it's usually that like happy little butterfly bubbly feeling in your stomach of excitement that you might be feeling towards something, or a sense of love and excitement there. So you have that showing up here with the letter X, in case that gives you maybe where that inspiration is coming from. X can represent like exes in our life, or people that we've kind of let go of in our lives in some way. So maybe where that emotion or excitement is coming from, or is linked to, or maybe even being inspired to create, comes from something in the past in that way. Especially since we have the silver star, which represents things not being perfect, but they're not, bad either, right? It's silver. It's not bronze. It's not gold. It's silver. And then you also got the heart charm, which tells me that there is also, goodness, there's definitely a storm going on outside, but that you have, like, your heart is in the right place is what I feel like. That's like the words that came up for me when I'm looking at this little bundle here. In your first week, your heart is in the right place. The muse and the feelings of inspiration that you have are in the right place. So definitely follow them, see where they take you. They could be related to your inner child or inner child work, kind of reconnecting with the past version of yourself. It doesn't have to be the childlike version, but your inner teen, your inner young adult, wherever you might be in life, right? It's reflecting on the past and kind of reconnecting with a piece of yourself, and maybe healing somewhere in there in the first week. You might be feeling a little bit jealous when it comes to that. There could be some sort of sense of jealousy or envy of maybe something that someone else has had and you've had a very unique or different kind of past. But that has also informed and given you that inspiration to create as well. I don't always like to say, like, if some of you are artists, sometimes people say that you can only create art from a place of pain or from a place of healing, but in some cases, obviously, that's not true. There's a lot of beauty and excitement that you can put into your art, but it is a very healing place too. So see where that falls for you. But let's go ahead and see your second week. Here in your second week, we have a little bit of a shift. I kind of want to pay attention here because you have joy, you have the number 5, which represents change or needed change in a foundation of something. You have luck coming in here with the lucky clover, and then you have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is all about kind of tradition, sticking with ideas, sticking with beliefs. That same kind of feeling that we were getting here earlier with the anchor and with the number 4. And 5 is what follows 4. 4 being safeguard, protect, stick to what you've always known, tradition, keeping with the flow. And 5 is about making changes. It's about sparking that change and seeing what can come of it. So there's something here that maybe needs to change, and it's a really good week to take on any big leaps or big changes, because you do have good luck on your side, and you do have the joyous heart showing up here too. So I think by liberating yourself from these traditions, you're going to have a big sense of overwhelming joy as well. And then also the other thing that we have showing up here is to maybe take it a little bit more easy when it comes to the second week. Maybe planning could be really important for you, since you have the spoony charm. Whenever we see the spoon, it's about taking one spoon at a time. If any of you guys are spoonies or have chronic pain or anything that might relate to that, this is something to really pay attention to in the second week. And then we have the self-care charm showing up here too. So it really feels like it's making sure to kind of be gentle with yourself in the second week as well, because you might have things that arise where you just don't really have as much energy to maybe take them on. Planning could be really important and useful in the second week for sure. So overall, those are all of the cards and charms that I have for you here today. I'll go ahead and pull these back over here so you can look at them if you would like, with the musician and all of the different charms that you got. If you did enjoy this though, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you, if you had specific charms really calling out to you or specific things that you wrote out with words or with numbers. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. You're also welcome to, and do consider subscribing, as I put out new videos on this channel every single Monday and have fun educational videos coming up over the next few weeks, or few months rather, where I'm wanting to kind of explore the world of my kind of magic, my art magic, and my grimoire. So stay tuned for those. But if you're interested in other things that I have a whole master guide on charm casting if you're interested in that. And I also have a video all about going through different charms in my collection. So if any of that interests you, do be sure to subscribe or check all of that out down below or through my channel. And before I let you go here, I just want to remind you, if you're interested in getting a private reading on any question or query on your mind, you can check out the snail mail readings I have down below. Those are a great way to not only support yourself, but also this channel to keep this place running. So I really do appreciate if you want to check those out down below alongside any other offerings that I provide, like Maybon papers and spell and ritual kits and papers as well. So yeah. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Hello group 2, if you've decided to choose this yellow crystal of yellow aventurine, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it here so you can see it during your reading today. As we explore your next 2 weeks, we're going to be looking at a little forecast of a week by week forecast here with the charms and tarot tiles, as well as several different other tarot and oracle supplies, which I'll have listed down below in the description in case you're curious. I do want to mention there is a bit of a thunderstorm going on outside, so if you hear a pitter patter or a bit of a boom or crack of thunder, then no worries, it's all good, but I just wanted to let you know in case you hear that in the background, although it does seem like it's settling a little bit more, so we will see. We're also going to be playing around with the Citadel Oracle again here today. It's a deck I am absolutely loving and loving to see how it connects with all of you, so we're going to be playing with that one here again today. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Do feel free to start getting yourself cozy, and we are going to begin with looking into the numbers and letters that are showing up for you over these next 2 weeks. So first we are going to be pulling your letters. So for these represent any names, dates, or initials that are showing up to give you some significators or to let you know of things that are more significant for the next 2 weeks. But do feel free to send your energy in, your time and space, and let's mix these up. Okay. So it looks like we have a few different ones. We have the letter V, P, D, E, F actually, as well as K, G, E, E, and A. Okay, so we have a nice little collection here of letters that are both consonants and vowels, which tells me that there's a nice balance in your communication this week. So we're going to see how that translates to your charms as we move forward. Obviously, I'm feeling called to the idea of veg, so maybe it's a good week to veg out or to look into your personal nutrition and how that works out for you. It could even mean just going outside and getting a little bit of vitamin D this week with all of the E's and the D here. Take it how it resonates as well. You may not find that all of these really resonate with you, but yeah, we have veg or veggies. I've felt like this feeling of like pa or da, like papa or dad or some sort of father or paternal figure possibly in your life that's going to be quite significant or important for you this coming next 2 weeks. What else do we have here? I also see a fad here, which makes me think of like something coming out or into fashion, or something coming like some sort of consumeristic point of view of something that you're very like excited about or looking into over the next 2 weeks. Maybe you're going shopping, or maybe you're finally able to buy this thing you've been kind of waiting to buy, but something on that level is showing up here. We also have keg, so take that how you will. And yeah, not really seeing a ton of other words and letters here, so do feel free to see how those resonate as we move forward. But I'm going to go ahead and set them up here, and you're welcome to write these down and see what else comes up for you by rearranging them. But we're going to move on to the numbers, very similar to the letters, but this time we're looking into any angel numbers, repeating numbers, signs and signals from spirit, or they can also just represent specific dates that are going to be really important over the next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and swirl these around. So group 2. Okay, so we have a couple. We have the numbers 9 and 13 in orange, 1 in blue, and 7 in red. So the colors could be significant to you if you so wish. You could see that these are more of a match together, where these feel more singular. You can take it however you like, but you might find, because we have the number 1 showing up here, it might be a more individualistic or solo kind of week, maybe less social, or maybe more just based on individualistic or independent things that you are currently working on in your life, or it's just not a super social next 2 weeks, rather. And then you also have the number 13 and 9 that are really sticking out to me. 9 representing something that's almost finished, right? You're almost about to finish something. And the number 13 can represent the death card, so something that's just about finished as well, right? So you might be at the precipice of finishing something up, but just having a few small details or loose ends to finish over the next 2 weeks. And then the number 7 representing introspection. So we're going to see how that all connects as we move forward. But let's go ahead and pull you your main card over the next 2 weeks. So we're going to be going into that archetypal card from the Citadel Oracle here, which I, like I said, am absolutely loving. So we're going to see which one comes up for you, what main energy, theme over the next 2 weeks is going to be really important and impactful in your life. Or it can also be seen as an archetype that's kind of something that you're finding yourself falling into or embracing even. So we're going to see what that is for you over these next 2 weeks. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. Let's mix them up. Group. Ooh, already falling out. Ooh, that's so interesting based off of what we've already talked about. Because this one, I immediately thought of the 3 of Cups, obviously because we have 3 cups here, but it's a very different feeling. And we have the Muse, which I find really funny. If you watched pile number 1, you'll know why. But yeah, it says here, the Muse, generosity, and naivety. So yeah, there's this feeling of like camaraderie, a bit of socialness, but maybe what you're feeling is less of a social week in terms of like literally socializing with other people, but you could be networking with other people within your job, or you might find that just certain skills that don't normally align together or don't normally mesh together or fuse or find that they make sense together, make sense this week. So there could be things that you're currently like certain projects or people or even skills that you don't normally have feel like they're meshing. Like that's what it really feels like, this mixing and mingling of ideas that you are kind of playing around with this next 2 weeks. But because I am still quite new to this deck, I thought it might be fun for us to read specifically on this card with you all today. So I'll go ahead and hold this up for you so you can look at it if you'd like. But let's go ahead and see what the guidebook has to say as well. So it says, the Muse, laughter, flowing wine, the sound of someone playing the lyra, or the lyre. I'm not sure how you say that, but anyway. Sunshine streams into the square, bathing a gathering of dancing youths in its warmth. The Muse doesn't see the world as it is, but rather its potential, and dreams of a life of peace and equality, never short of a song or a toast. The Muse is an optimist and a lover, always ready with a kind word and a spare cup of wine. Now is the time to look beyond the bad news and embrace a little of that dreamer spirit. Any situation can be improved with hard work, but it also needs optimism, belief in the potential for a better outcome, especially if others believe it too. Being jaded is for the world weary. Embrace positivity and optimism instead. Reverse, a dream is a wonderful thing, but don't get too wrapped up in it. There are still dangers out there, and being too naive about the reality of the world can trip you along the way. There is a balance to be found between optimism and realism. So you might find you kind of connect more with the reverse side of this. You might find that you fall more on the first side of this, or somewhere in between even. But yeah, you might just feel like you're very inspired this next 2 weeks to start things up, to mix things together and see what could happen and see the potential in changing things up. I find it interesting though that you have so many cards showcasing kind of like staying in, independence, vegging out, keeping to yourself, and then you have this optimism that's showing up here of possibly socializing. So it may even be that you've just been kind of nervous or having a bit of anxiety or social anxiety about hanging out with certain people, which could be totally valid, but you might be finding that you are more optimistic as the week goes on or the weeks go on. So we're going to see your charms here and get a little bit more of those details. So go ahead and zoom you out. And what we're going to do is cast both the tarot tiles and the charms to get a sort of 2 week ahead forecast here, where anything that falls here in the middle is going to be more on that main energy or that muse. And then we're going to see here with this noodle shape, anything that's showing up here in the first week. And here with this second noodle shape, it's going to represent anything that falls here as the second week and any energy showing up. And then anything on the outside with the moons, we'll talk about individually. So let's go ahead and pull you those charms so we can get more of those details. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space and into this dark abyss. Let's see what comes back. So group 2. Goodness, lots going on that way, especially with the toss that I had here. So let's go ahead and see how that influences your next 2 weeks. So we have the 10 of Cups reversed, which totally makes sense with that feeling of like switching from optimism and back and forth and feeling a little bit like uneasy about that optimism. And then we will reveal this one as we move forward. You also have, and these really feel like mostly connected to the second week, but I'm going to see them in groups here. So you have the Queen of Wands, the Chariot reversed, and the Knight of Swords here as well. So let's go ahead and pull the charms so you can see more details. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and let's mix these up too. Okay. So we definitely have a lot more showing up here in the second week than we do in the in the first week than we do in the second week. But let's start here first in the center. So let's see here. So the things that we have showing up here, let's go ahead and reveal this other card. So we have the 7 of Pentacles alongside the reversed 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups is like one of the most optimistic cards in the entire deck of tarot. So it is the optimistic card, the card of feeling just free and at peace and so alive, right? It just feels so alive. And then seeing as you have it reversed, it just is telling me that you're feeling still a bit of a block towards allowing yourself to have that optimism, to have that muse feeling. Go ahead and set this here so you can see it while we talk about these cards. But there is that cups, right? You're like blocking emotions or holding something back, kind of vegging yourself out or finding a way to escape, using escapism as a way to navigate these next 2 weeks could also be something that's showing up here. You have the Haya charm showing up next to the Seven of Pentacles. This usually represents someone in your life saying hello, or like sending a text message, asking you out to, breakfast, or hanging out at your house, dinner parties, whatever. It's some sort of social event, or someone kind of, putting, the effort to say hello to you. So it could be an actual person, but seeing as it fell next to the Seven of Pentacles tells me that someone is really trying to put in a lot of work to keep this relationship or a relationship going in your life over the next 2 weeks, or you're putting in a lot of work towards any kind of relationship in your life. It could be a relationship with your family, your friends, your house, your pet, your job, whatever relationship you like, but something is putting in a lot of hard work and you're saying hello to it, or it's popping back into your life, especially if you're kind of escaping away from it. It's kind of finding a way to keep saying hello. You also have the little goddess charm here. It just is like this little portrait. I always think of it as like a little goddess or something like that. So you could also have a spirit guide that's kind of showing up over your next 2 weeks too, in relation to this optimism. This can also feel a bit like a high pedestal that you're putting yourself on as well, and maybe that's where that possible procrastination that can show up here with the Seven of Pentacles might be coming into. Procrastinating maybe saying hello to someone, or procrastinating some sort of work that you want to get done, or effort put in towards a relationship in your life of some sort. So there might be that as well, and maybe that's why that independence is coming in here in this weird back and forth state. So see how that shows up as we move forward. But let's move into the first week, and then we'll talk about the second week here. So for the first week, you have quite a few different cards. You have both the Queen of Wands, and then you also have the reversed Five of Wands as well. And then you kind of have this cultural charm that kind of is making me think of a wand or like a torch, like with flames at the top. So it really feels like something that you have been quite excited about, you've been working on towards, and you've been possibly chugging along on. All of a sudden is kind of coming to or has been coming to a halt lately. Like I said, it feels like something in your life has been kind of moving, chugging along, and then all of a sudden you're getting like halts or delays or something like that that's showing up here, and is maybe causing that bit of like need for time off or need for escapism, to veg out or whatever. So that's showing up here in the first week. And then I'm also getting down here with these two together, more of that being evident here, because you have two different cards that are very, very similar. The Knight of Swords loves to rush into things and get things going and get things moving. And then so does the Chariot. The Chariot also likes to get things moving. It's a very movement-oriented card. And then you have these two kind of butting heads here. So it feels like you might be changing directions, or maybe going down a different path in the first week as well. Lots of contradictions in the cards that you're getting here, which is telling me that you have a lot of day and night energies or extremes that you're kind of moving through over these next 2 weeks as well, that are kind of bumping or butting heads of some sort. So keep that in mind in the first week, that you might find yourself contradicting yourself or going back and forth on something. But here in the second week, you have a little bit more of a chill second week. So that's nice to see. You have that this is showcasing that this first week, the energy that you're feeling of that back and forth, is very temporary. And then you have the planning charm, as well as the grounded charm, as in not like grounded like you're grounded, but like like you feel very grounded and centered. And then you have the harmony charm. So all of these together are telling me that there's a lot more release, a lot more relaxation, a lot more chill energy happening in the second week, whereas the first week and then that main energy is showcasing like a just sort of roadblocks in your way, butting head energy, and sort of a sense of escapism, or kind of procrastination, or things just getting in your way that once weren't. So when you're moving over these next 2 weeks, just make sure that you allow yourself a little bit more grace, especially with the idea of feeling like so excited, you have so much optimism, but things are kind of getting in the way. So you have to kind of play around with the energies of realism and feeling optimistic and trying to find some sort of center ground over these next 2 weeks. If I could say anything, that really sums it up. So those are all of the cards and charms here for you over the next 2 weeks. I'll go ahead and let you look at these one more time if you'd like to. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave you there. If you did enjoy this reading, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts and the different charms that really called out to you. If you're interested in learning more about charm casting, I have an entire video on charm casting on my channel, as well as several different other charm casting and pick a card readings that you can check out on this channel that I put out every single Monday. So do feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're interested in supporting this space to keep it running here and to keep it flowing and going here, then do be sure to support yourself through the different offerings I have down below. I have snail mail readings where I send a letter to you in the mail on any question or query on your mind. And I also do offerings such as spell and ritual papers that I hand make myself with recycled papers and very magical ingredients for different Sabbats. And right now I have Maybon paper out right now, so definitely feel free to jump on those as they are limited in quantity, but definitely not quality. And yeah, I do believe that is everything I wanted to say here today. I'm wishing you the best for your next 2 weeks, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello Group 3, if you've decided to choose this piece of red jasper, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it here so you can see it during your reading here today, as we are going to be exploring your next 2 weeks and to see what really is coming in for those main energies. We're going to look into a week-by-week forecast for you over the next 2 weeks as well. And we're going to be playing around with the charms, of course, as well as other different oracle decks, such as the Citadel Oracle, all of which I'll have listed down below. I let the other 2 piles know, and who knows, maybe in editing you won't hear it at all, but there is a thunderstorm happening outside right now. It's calmed down by the time we hit your pile, but I just wanted to let you know in case you hear any occasional rain or booms or whatever as the rain kind of happens in the background. But with that all said, feel free to get yourself settled, get yourself cozy for this, and let's see what you have in store for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to be starting here with your letter and number tiles. So for these, I'm going to be pulling different letters to start off with so we can look into what different people might be showing up and are more prominent in your life, any oracle messages that we can write with the different letter tiles that show up, or initials and other sort of significators for you. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. And let's go ahead and pull these for you, Group 3. Okay, so these are the ones that showed up first. We have K and E alongside Q, R, I, and A. Outside of that, though, we also have the letters D, E, O, and E. I know we don't have it written here, but I feel like I should be writing bike for some reason, but we don't have, like, the B showing up here, which is making me think that, like, and this kind of showed up in pile 2 as well, but or 1, I think maybe, that there's something about transportation that's showing up a lot in the piles, and the idea that, like, maybe you miss your bus, or you need to, like, check your tires, check your oil, something like that. Something very practical might show up when it comes to transportation over the next 2 weeks, so something to keep in mind, especially since you don't have the B for, like, the bike tire or something like that, like something like is a missing part that maybe you need to get, whether it's for transportation or some sort of missing part that you're needing over the next 2 weeks might be showing up, or is something to just keep in mind for maintenance. We can't really do anything with the Q, seeing as it doesn't have a U, but we can spell other things here. We have kid showing up here, which can represent, like, an actual, like, kid in your life. Maybe you are really hanging out with different kids in your life, like whether it's your own kid or you're around a lot of younger children, younger adults, younger people in your life, that might be showing up. But also it feels like kidding or like laughter and jokes and kind of a lighter laughter feeling to your next 2 weeks as well. So you might find that you are hanging out with people that are quite humorous, who understand your humor, or maybe you're watching shows or comedies or things like that. We also have read show up here, so that's making me think that you might be literally physically reading, or you might find that over the next 2 weeks that you are consuming a lot of different TV shows, media, stories and storytelling of some sort, or you might even find yourself writing a lot too. Also, I just got this feeling of like you might be reading into things a little bit too much, and I feel like that's very specific to a few of you, but I feel like some of you you might know exactly what I mean when I say this, but I feel like you're reading into it too much. I feel like nothing else needs to be said, but that feels specific to a few of you. So let's go ahead and see what else you have showing up here with your other charms and things. So we're going to be moving on to your number tile. So these are going to work very similar to the letters, only instead of spelling things, we're actually going to see if you have any repeating numbers for angel numbers, spirit signals and signs from spirit guides or other guides in your life. And we're also going to see if there could be any specific dates that are really important for you over these next 2 weeks. I do feel like I have a frog that's showing up in my throat all of a sudden, so if my voice, as always with the pile 3, if my voice goes in or out, just know that's what that is. So let's go ahead and pull you some number tiles. Ooh, you got a lot of numbers. I normally don't pull this many numbers. But the ones that you had showing up here, we have 3, 7, and 1. Both in, or all rather, in the same color suit here of red. You also have another 7 showing up here in black. Another 7 showing up here in blue. The number 10 in orange. The number 6 in orange, and the number 4. So if we kind of group these accordingly, you might find that you're called to a specific color, specific group, or specific number, and you can look into the numerology after this if you'd like to. Especially since you have so many different numbers here, I probably won't go into every single one, but of course we have to talk about the number 7 showing up here. 7 is kind of a fickle number in that it's not. Some numbers are very specific, where 7 just represents retrospection or reflection or looking back at something, or kind of reflecting back on something. So you might find yourself rewatching shows or rereading books, or you might find that a problem that's come up with that maintenance has happened before. It just represents chapters repeating themselves, or you kind of reflecting back on the past a lot over the next 2 weeks. So we have that showing up here with 777 in 3 different colors here. But you also might find other numbers are really, speaking to you, and you're welcome to see how those show up for you. But let's go ahead and look at your main card over the next 2 weeks with the Citadel Oracle, which is one of my new favorites, of course. So let's go ahead and see what archetype main energy is really following you. You maybe are embracing these next few weeks, or just a main energy on its way in. So let's go ahead and see what that is for you over the next 2 weeks. Group 3. So do feel free, as always, to kind of focus on the cards and send your energy in. It really, I know it's funny, but it does make a difference. So let's see. Ooh, I always have a hard time saying this, so I might butcher the name here. I do believe it is said as the Masquerari, but I could be saying it wrong, so we're going to just call them the Mask Maker. So we have the Mask Maker here with hiding your true self and projection. And this is kind of what the card looks like. As you can see, they're sort of, it kind of makes me think of the different masks that you see in like fine arts or in theater. So it does represent some sort of acting. It could be that you're physically like acting, maybe you work in acting or in that sort of industry, but it could also represent that you're putting on an act or you're masking a lot over the next 2 weeks, especially when it comes to like neurodivergence or other things like that. So see how that is resonating with you as we move forward. But I do want to go ahead and read on this one because, as I said, this is a new deck to me. It's one that I haven't got to play around with a lot. So I do want to go ahead and see what the guidebook has to say and how it might resonate for you. So let's go ahead and I'll pull this up here so you can read it on your own if you'd like. But I'm going to go ahead and read both the upright version as well as the reversed. And you can see if one or the other is resonating with you. So it says here, down a quiet side street, hidden in the twisted back roads of the Citadel, a shop waits for its next curious visitor. Thousands of faces line the wall, masks in every shape and form and color at their center, though. Their creator, wizened hands, are painting rouge on the cheeks of their next masterpiece. The masquerari has made so many masks that they do not remember who they were when they first opened this shop. Each one is an expression of their spirit, their creative heart. Each one is made by chipping away little pieces of themselves to sell to the next customer. We all wear different masks to appease the people around us, at work, with friends, in front of our family. Each mask is the part of ourselves we think is appropriate in the moment, but by being so concerned about others' opinions, you can lose sight of your true self. Stop changing to fit public expectations, as it's time for you to work out who you really are and what you really want your life to be. Who is your genuine self? Let yourself be vulnerable and show others the real you. And then, as I said, in reversed, you might find that you connect more with the reversed here. It says, there are times for vulnerability and times for strength. When used in the right way, masks are powerful. They are a way to guide your privacy and to keep you protected. In this moment, work out what mask you need to wear to achieve your purpose. Adopt that persona, adjust your behavior, and do what you have to do. So I'm really feeling like the majority of you are probably feeling the first part of the card. In the idea that I talked about earlier, you have a lot where you're kind of reflecting back on something or something coming full circle. So I really feel like maybe you are, trying on a mask in the past or trying on you're kind of reconnecting with a past version of yourself or a past time in your life and kind of reflecting and kind of reliving those parts of your life in some way. So I feel like that you're like putting on the mask of your 22nd birthday version of yourself, or putting on, your 5-year-old self or your 7-year-old self or your 47-year-old self or whatever it might be, whether that's even connecting with the past or the future version of yourself. I feel like you're kind of looking one way or the other. You're not really in the present is what I'm really getting here. So let's go ahead and see how that connects with the individual charm cast as we move through your next 2 weeks. So I'll go ahead and zoom you back out here. And let's go ahead and see first how this all works. So what I'm going to do is pull different charms and tarot tiles to cast on this little casting cloth that I created, where here in the center represents a main energy happening for you. So more on that mask maker or anything else that might show up. But we're also going to look into this little noodle shape, as anything that falls in there is for week 1, and anything that falls here in this noodle shape is to represent things happening in week 2. The moons we'll talk about individually, though, if anything falls there. So let's start here first with the tarot tiles. So do feel free to send your energy in. I know I say it a billion times, but do feel free to send your energy into the dark abyss here and see what comes back. So group 3 here. Okay, so a nice little arrangement here. Kind of have almost 2 falling in every section. Don't worry, I will zoom in later on to look at each of these individually, but just so you know now, you have the the Queen of Pentacles here, the Queen of Cups reversed, and then over here on the last quarter moon, you have the Four of Cups. And we'll reveal these as we move forward, especially with that masking element, and see if that even relates. But next, we're going to pull some charms to get extra details and to fill out the rest of your forecast. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space here. And let's mix these up, group 3. Okay, so not a lot of charms, but a good little array. So let's start here first, talking about the center here. So like I said, you have not only the mask maker, which I'll go ahead and set here while we talk about it, but you also have the Queen of Pentacles, which represents quite a solid, sure-footed person, a very nurturing, very in their element. They know who they are, they know their true self kind of person. So I find it interesting that you have the mask showing up here. So it does mean that you haven't lost sight of who you truly are, but maybe you haven't connected with who you are for a very long time, or you're just really connecting with the truest, purest version of yourself over these next 2 weeks. So let's see how that connects with your other card. So you also have the High Priestess here, and the High Priestess has a lot to do, and I think it's interesting too that they both have like flowers everywhere. There's very much a floral energy to this, like sort of a blooming or an emergence of like your true self, right? Like it's almost like if you think of like a mask being like a flower that closes at the end of the night. This is like the true version of yourself kind of unfurling. So seeing as this relates to that mask, seeing as it was upside down, that really tells me that this is showcasing that what you're unfurling, a part of yourself that you're unfurling, has to do with your intuition, has to do with your more spiritual or more even religious part of yourself. The High Priestess has a lot to do with that woo-woo side or that spiritual side. It also can represent, just like I said, reconnecting with your spirituality, reconnecting with the magical version of yourself. And there is a sense of needing to take your time with that as well, that maybe it's been buried for so long that you didn't realize just how deeply you have to kind of go into those petals, right? Kind of unfurling like a rose where there's a lot of petals to unfurl. So take your time with it, but that definitely is the aspect in which you are unfurling over these next 2 weeks for sure. So let's go ahead and look at your first week in more detail, which I'm going to go ahead and keep it zoomed in because nothing else is showing up in any other spot. But you do have one charm that falls in between both week 1 and week 2. And it's quite a big one. This is the manipulation charm. It can also represent the tower. And the tower in tarot represents foundations crumbling or something kind of coming in and having quite sudden change. So that's really what I feel like over these next 2 weeks, that you're going to have quite big changes to your mask, your persona, how you present yourself to the world. And you might find that your mask is sort of crumbling, this mask that you maybe have been wearing for quite a while. And it's crumbling, it's falling apart, and you might need to either put a new mask on or rediscover the truest self underneath it. Especially since, like I said, it has to do with that. Otherwise, you might just have really big changes happening in your life and things that are usually unexpected, like I said, with car troubles or, maintenance, or things that show up that are kind of just sudden changes, things you couldn't really ever prepare for entirely. So just making sure to prepare as much as you can, but just know that you might have some of those odd roadblocks here and there. Also, when we come to that first week, we have, like I said, the Queen of Cups reversed, and you also have the thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. I got this from a bookmark from my grandma, but this always makes me think of especially with the scene that's showing up here, is the expectations that you put on for other people, right? For your neighbors, for your best friend, for your family, like that card had talked about. And that the Queen of Cups is very open. Their heart is very open. They are very free-flowing and very much their true self, just as the Queen of Pentacles is, where the Queen of Pentacles is more sure-footed. The Queen of Cups is more like good in their emotions and allowing their emotions to flow. And so I really feel like you're maybe holding certain emotions back for other people's benefit and putting sort of a mask on in that way in the first week. And it might be related to these sudden changes that might show up. Here, when it comes to the last quarter moon here, last quarter moon represent releasing something. It's the release moon. It can also represent timing, so you can check out a moon app to see when this energy might come in for you. But as of the last quarter moon that we have here, it's showcasing a bit of pessimism with the Four of Cups here. You can see with the Four of Cups, this person is being given an opportunity or given some sort of possibility, and they're just sort of looking the other way. They're not taking it, they don't want it, and they're pushing it away. So you might find that there's something that you're needing to release, and when it comes to sort of holding back against help that's given, and that you might find yourself rejecting help for sometimes for very valid reasons, other times because we're quite stubborn. So you can see which way that goes for you. And then here on the second week, I'll go ahead and zoom out so you can see everything that showed up here. I'll go ahead and move this one up. And let's go ahead and reveal your cards. So you have the Eight of Pentacles reversed. So when it comes to the second week, it is not the week to try to get a ton of things done, or you might just find that you're not super focused. You're kind of maybe feeling a little floaty or feeling like things aren't really getting done. Because when you have the Ace of Pentacles not reversed, it represents hard work, focus, getting things done, really pumping through stuff. But this, when it's reversed, it tells me that like some of those tasks that you normally do are feeling very tedious. There can be a bit of procrastination or just like, I don't want to do that. And so you might find that you're just less productive in the second week, which happens to us all. You also have the apple charm. So when I think of the apple too, it's making me think of like especially with the half that we have here, which represents the half charm, or like half a slice of a pizza, or something being cut in half. The idea of it being cut in half next to the apple makes me think of like looking at an apple cut in half, and when you look on the inside of an apple, there's like the protection symbol of the pentacle. So when it comes to that spiritual element too, that you might feel that like the tedious everyday stuff, and putting on that mask, that hard work to do that all the time, is just starting to slip in the second week and crumbling in the second week. And you're, like I said, with this mask over the top of yourself, you're able to cut that in half and see what the real parts of you are. And there's also this feeling of like shadow work or something like that also showing up here when it comes to magic or spirituality in the second week. And I'm realizing yours is getting quite long, so I'm going to go ahead and finish here with the last two charms you have here of the crab, which can represent a Cancer possibly being present in the second week for you. Also, again, safeguarding, holding yourself back, staying in that crab mask that's very solid. And then you have the can opener, which tells me that you're like, again, you're opening something up. You're very much opening up in the second week too, to this real true version of yourself, which has been quite a lot of work to keep on up to this point. So that's really what I'm seeing here for your next 2 weeks. Sorry for rambling on so long for your guys' pile. You just had so much I wanted to read into. But I will go ahead and let you go. But here are the last little details in case you want to look at anything once again before I end this. But do give this video a like if you really did enjoy it. It really does help the channel, so thank you. And let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you. If you had specific charms or cards that were really calling out to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And if you haven't already, do feel free to subscribe to the channel as I put out new videos every single Monday for love, career, spirituality. And I also have a master guide on charm casting if you want to look deeper into that kind of realm of charm casting as a form of divination for yourself. It's super fun and a really informative video, so do feel free to check that out. And you're also welcome to check out the ways in which you can support this space, as I have snail mail readings offering as an offering right now, as well as Mabon spell and ritual papers. So if you're into that witchy spiritual stuff, do feel free to check that all out down below, or to get yourself a private reading, as it's a great way to not only support yourself, but also to keep this space running listening, so I really do appreciate it. And with that all said, I will let you go. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me here today, and I wish you the best for your next 2 weeks. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.